The Lead. Sponsored by Lavish Boutique, Lavish Coffee, Jasper Veterinary Clinic, Jasper Bone and Joint, and Carl Cannon Chevrolet Buick GMC. Welcome to The Lead. Filling in for our host, Greg Tinker, I'm Al Blanton, and today we welcome a special guest, the pride of Cordova, Alabama, former player and current coach, Tim Simon. Tim, it's good to see you today.
It's nice to be here. Nice to see you too.
For everyone except for Central Phoenix City and Thompson, who just finished up their seasons in the 7A championship last night, most of the high school football programs have been in the off season. Kind of catch us up on what's happening in your world.
Well, right now, we're going through a new coaching phase, so therefore, I'm just basically down there with the kids, working them out, just keeping them focused and keeping them focused on the task at hand, basically.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we work them out, run them, just basically same old stuff. Until we get somebody to come in, step in, and figure out what they want to do with them.
Yeah. Cordova's got such a rich history of a football program, and talk a little bit about that, and for those people that really don't know much about Cordova football, kind of take us inside the program.
It's a small town. Everybody loves it. A whole lot of my family members have been there. I mean, I get the name because I guess I played 4 years, but everybody else had somebody to play behind. It's pretty funny because it's a running joke in my family who's the best athlete to come through, and my name gets tossed up, but I'm just honored for it to get tossed up because I've had some greats. Rest in peace to my cousin Bobby Thomas. He was one. Let's see. Skip Armstead, Bunny Armstead, D'Angelo Armstead.
Who played with me at Walker College, by the way.
Yes,
I've known Jug for a long time.
Yes, and they were the guys that could play any sport.
Yeah.
I just got recognized for playing one.
Yeah.
But as far as athlete go, those guys played all three and were top tier at all three. So.
Now Jug would probably say that he's the greatest athlete.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. But it's funny to get into that debate with all of them at the house because there's so many greats in that room.
Yeah. But, it's a really big deal, though. Cordova football has been a big deal. You talk about state championships and just the crowds at Hudson Kirby Field. And what's it like playing there? And what's it like, that environment on a Friday night?
It's so much expectations that go on, but you embrace it and you have fun. I get chills thinking about it, to be honest with you. Just putting that red hat on and going out there, just playing with your guys, and the whole community is behind you. It's almost to the point where they'll shut the whole town down to come out and watch a football game. It's unbelievable, man.
Let's go back to your freshman year of high school. You rushed for 1,300 yards that year. What was it like to kind of have that success at the varsity level as a freshman?
Be honest with you, that was more of a year I was running for my life, just being out there nervous with a bunch of guys. It was fun because we had a lot of seniors, and them guys took me under their wing, and they coached me through a lot of stuff. They was like, man, as long as you run, you won't get hit. Mm-hmm. It was fun. The success part I didn't think was gonna happen so quick, but when it did, it kind of jump started me to be like, hey, I can get better and better every year. So.
If you were to talk to a kid that was a ninth grader that had that kind of success, that was maybe looking forward to his sophomore year, what would you tell him?
I would tell him to, take it easy, embrace everything that's going on, but don't get too caught up in everything. Mm-hmm. Stay focused on the task at hand. That way everything goes smooth, and you ain't got to worry about, things happening. Mm-hmm. You got to take care of your body, ice your legs, stuff like that. Mm-hmm.
Do you think young athletes really understand what it takes to get to that next level?
I don't think they do. Now, everybody says they want to do it, but it's another thing to actually take the time and do it. Mm-hmm. As a freshman, I think you're still kind of wide-eyed to what's going on with varsity level because it's a lot going on. Mm-hmm. But as far as going to the next level, you got to really be ready to open up and accept what's going on at the varsity level and come back and do extra work to be ready to prepare for the next level.
Talk about your work ethic as you went through high school.
Work ethic. After what I did my sophomore year, it was like, hey, I'm probably, I think I'm pretty good at this. And that's when the little letters started rolling in. Fortunately, I had guys that would push me after school, and me and, of course, Ryan Smith would go running. Like I said, I got my cousins. They would always come get me. I credit a lot of my strength to Bobby Thomas, because once he got done doing what he was doing, serving his time or whatever, he would come get me and make me work out with him all the time. The first time I ever benched 315 pounds was with him. So, I mean, everybody around me pushed me to be the best I could be.
I wrote this down. You scored 24 touchdowns your freshman year, 25 your sophomore year, 32 your junior year, 42 your senior year, which adds up to 123 total touchdowns. Is there one that sort of stands out more than others?
I don't really know if any one of them stand out more than the other, but I know those offensive line, them guys, all 4 years, gave everything they had for me to score like that. So therefore, a lot of my credit goes to them guys.
Now, I know the game against Trinity was a pretty big game for you. Talk about that game just a little bit.
Yeah. That game, I had bronchitis the whole week, didn't practice that whole week. And then when I did get to play, I had a great first half, and then got halted by a asthma attack.
Yeah.
And my heart rate spiked up, and it was crazy, but that was probably one of the breakout games as my senior year. That's probably the biggest name game that I've played in.
Yeah. Coach Scott Baisden and Pete Bush were your head coaches during that time, and tell us a little bit about them and their influence on your career.
Baisden always made sure. He always used to tell me, as a freshman, after my freshman year, he used to tell me, now you're going to have to start dressing nice and, keeping all this stuff clean, because these colleges are going to start coming in. Yeah. So you always got to be prepared to meet somebody, even when you're not prepared. So I took that from him, but he was really hard on me. Him and Bush were probably the two hardest guys on me about everything. It didn't matter schoolwork, being out at home. They just always make sure I was doing the right thing. And I appreciate them for that, because I couldn't get out of line to do anything wrong, because those two was on my back so bad.
You ended up going to Ole Miss after you graduated. What was it about Ole Miss that you liked, and why ultimately did you decide to go there?
Ultimately, it came down to them and Clemson. Both of them came down a whole lot, but I would say Houston knew how to work his magic. He would come down and see my grandmother, and they knew my grandmother had a big influence on me. So sometimes they would come down. They wouldn't even let me know they was there.
Yeah.
So they would go to my grandmother's, and then I would get a call, hey, come down here, and I'd get there and they'd be there. But there was a lot of times he brought his whole staff down, you know, and that just make you feel wanted. So, I mean, that's why I felt wanted. And when I got there, it was still the same thing. He never changed.
Now, was Dabo the coach at Clemson at that point?
He had just got the job.
There. Did you get recruited by him a little bit?
Yes. Well, when Dabo was at Alabama, when he was over there, I can't remember what position he had at Alabama at the time, but he was recruiting me at Alabama too. So it made it even sweeter when he went to Clemson, and him and the running back coach, Coach Davis, came down both wanting to talk to me and tell me they was going to recruit me. I actually took a trip to both and had a great time. But like I said, ultimately it come down to, Coach Nutt and his staff with my grandmother, and she was like, hey, I think y'all are going to do the best by my grandson, and I'm going to send him up there with y'all. So I was like, well, I guess, I'm committed to you guys.
Coach Nutt's one of those guys that's got just a very unique personality. Is that what you saw as well as a coach?
Yes, he embraced everybody that was around him.
Yeah.
So it was never a dull moment. He embraced literally everybody. Even like when I got to college, the walk-ons, a lot of coaches don't embrace those guys, but he was embracing them.
Yeah.
And he would bring them in, even, you're not supposed to feed them.
Yeah.
He would feed them out of money out of his pocket.
Yeah.
He was just that type of guy. And that's the type of guys I was just wanting to be around.
Yeah. Now, your freshman year against South Carolina, you get injured. It ends your college career. What was that like for you? I know that must have been a very challenging time. Take us through that.
Man.
And walk us through what that was like, having to end your football career on such a sour note.
That night when it happened, I didn't think I just thought I tore something, you know, and because the way it felt, I told him it just felt like it was broke, but at the same time, my leg was burning. So they put me in an air cast and flew all the way back to Mississippi. When we got back, and that next morning, I went to the training room and they told me everything I had tore, from ACL to PCL to hamstring to stretching the nerve in my foot. And then that's the time when they told me, hey, you may never play football again. So the biggest thing is we're going to try to get you to walk again. From that moment then, you know, every dream that a 17-year-old kid could have is gone. You talking about devastated. I mean, I called my mom, I called my uncle. It was just something that at the time I could not, I figured I couldn't do. I was ready to quit then and just go back home. And, you know, when I got to working through the stuff, I ended up having 6 surgeries. I did 6 months with a hamstring to start off with. So I had to go 6 months with my leg at a 90-degree angle. And then after that, when we got that healed, I had to go and do my ACL, which I had to go 6 months with it straight out. So I'm already, you know, basically braced up on one leg, and then not to mention I got nerve damage, so I got a boot on my foot too. So this whole left leg is just braced up, you know. But the guys around me, you know, roommates, teammates, those guys kept me up and kept me going. You know, anything I needed, they would go get. And then on top of that, while I was going through all those surgeries, my teachers was coming to my my dorm room and teaching me in my dorm room, and then the guys that come in for tutoring would help me out too. So man, I was blessed to be in the position I was in, even though I felt like it was the end of the world. I didn't realize at the time how many people cared and actually wanted me to succeed still. So I mean, that was a blessing in disguise right there.
And was the injury just almost insurmountable? Did you just kind of weigh your options and say, it's better for me to just step away?
Well, it got to the point where in the training I got better and better. You know, I was able to run, I was able to cut, and I got back a lot faster than what I expected because I worked so hard. I didn't want to be that guy, and I wanted to play football. But I got back and I got my chance to play, and I just couldn't cut like I used to. You know, I could run, and then he was like, my trainer at the time, which spent a whole lot of time with me. His name Jared Porter. He was, Jared Palmer. And he was always like, man, you know, if you take one bad shot, you can possibly lose that leg and never be able to run around with your kids if you plan on having kids one day. Well, me being me, still wanted to play, but then I got to really thinking about it. I was like, this is bigger than me, you know?
Yeah.
So I talked to my position coach, Derek Nix, and he was like, he said, man, if you thinking about hanging it up, you can come student coach with me, you know, learn the ins and outs of this football. And I was like, yeah, and I took him up on that because I was the guy in the room. If somebody was having problems, I could help them out because, you know, I could relate to them and put it in a term that they could understand it. So I ended up doing that for the rest of that year, which was my junior year, and then that's when Nut gets fired and Freeze comes in. So I got to do a year up under Freeze too. So that was interesting.
We may lose you to Auburn. You never know.
Right.
What do you like about coaching?
It's getting to know the kids. Yeah. You know, everybody's got a story to tell. Everybody's got a different background. It's showing them things and then watching them execute it. You know, that's the best thing about coaching to me. I really enjoy coaching more than I ever did playing. Yeah. You know, I love scoring. I love, you know, playing football, but I love being around kids and showing them how to do things and just being able to help them with whatever I can possibly.
That was the thing that I really enjoyed about it, was just being able to teach.
Yes.
You know, I was watching a video on Coach Saban. It was right before the Texas game this year, and it was just talking about how much he teaches during practice. And you know, I've been retired from coaching for 14 years, but that's one thing I do miss is the teaching aspect of it, and just being able teach kids, you know, proper technique and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I can certainly relate to that.
Yeah, it's something else, you know, when you watch a kid do something and the first thing they do is turn and dart towards you. You know, that does something to you.
Yeah.
And if you go watch film, running back score, they're gonna come straight to me. You know, defensive guys make a play, they run straight to me.
Yeah.
It's refreshing to watch all that.
Fulfilling, I'm sure. Yeah. Now, I think every athlete, when they're growing up and they're in, you know, middle school and high school, they always have a college or NFL player that they kind of look up to and maybe emulate. Who are those guys for you?
College player, I was a big time Auburn fan coming up, and that's the whole reason why I wore number 23.
Yeah.
You know, because when my ninth grade year, I was wearing number 14. I wanted number 9 after one of my cousins that played high school football, but upperclassmen had it.
Yeah.
So when Scott Bazin got there, he was like, because he knew Ronnie Brown at the time was my favorite running back.
Yeah.
So he was like, hey, wear this number.
Yeah.
He said, I want you to be exactly like that guy.
Yeah.
And then it was no brainer right then.
Yeah.
Okay, coach, you know, I got to get in this weight room and I got to, you know, imitate my game after this guy, which I didn't really try to imitate it. It just happened. But man, I loved it. You know, that's what motivated me.
Have you ever had a chance to meet Ronnie?
I didn't.
Yeah.
The year he graduated, when he finished, this was about the time we started going down. So I got to meet like Brad Lester and all those guys, but I never got to meet Ronnie Brown.
Yeah. Now in 2019, is that right? You get inducted to the Walker County Sports Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Tell me what you remember most about that experience.
Man, it was a great experience. You know, coming in, they you know, call out your records and stuff like that, and the achievements you did in high school. I don't like talking about myself like that, so therefore, you know, I gave all the praise to my guys that helped me get there, because it's not just one person playing the game; it's the other 10 out there that's busting their butt to make sure you do what you got to do. So I mean, you know, the whole night it was emotional, but you know, I praised them a whole lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're certainly somebody that Cordova football and the Cordova community can be proud of. So I know it was a big honor for the community. So I'm sure that you credit not only your teammates, but also the people of Cordova that have supported you throughout the years as well. Let's talk about Tim Simon as a person. What are some things that you like to do in your spare time, and what's important to you?
I don't even know what spare time is anymore. My daughter, man, I spend a whole lot of time with her. You know, she's growing up, and I tell her all the time, because she's around football more than most kids are. Yeah. And I said, you got a whole lot of big brothers that you don't even know about.
Yeah.
But I spend a lot of time with her as far as sports. She loves sports. She's recently into basketball, so we at the basketball court, or we at practice actually working on things. And she loves softball. If we not at the basketball, we at softball. It's just, I think I'm at the time where I'm actually living and knowing what life really is.
And how old is she?
She turns 8 tomorrow.
8.
So yes, we gonna celebrate her little birthday and, you know, just enjoy that.
Yeah. You hunt or fish or anything? Or?
I love to fish, but I haven't been able to fish much because of football.
Yeah.
And then my daughter's busy on the weekends, so it's, you know, I squeeze it in it when I can, and she'll go with me.
Yeah.
But that's about all I can do right now.
Well, let me tell you, let me give you a little piece of advice. I don't know if you've got a fantasy football team, but I recently got into a fantasy football league, and that has completely consumed my spare time. So I would advise you to, if you don't have any spare time, stay away from fantasy football.
Listen, after all the football we go through and with so much I do, if it ain't college football or it's just on TV, I ain't got time to go through and pick out guys. You know, I know a lot of guys that do it and have fun with it, but I would rather just watch the game, you know.
And maybe I need to work a little bit harder. So. Tim, we've got a little tradition on our show. Every guest signs our poster right up here, so if you wouldn't mind doing the honors for us.
Yeah, no problem. Let's see.
There you go. Well, man, we really appreciate you coming on the show and we hope you'll come back sometime.
I really appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah,
it's
man.
Been a blast.
Thanks so much. For Tim Simon and our regular host, Greg Tinker, I'm Al Blanton. We hope to see you next time on The Lead. The Lead, sponsored by Lavish Boutique, Lavish Coffee, Jasper Veterinary Clinic, Jasper Bone and Joint, and Carl Cannon Chevrolet Buick GMC.